everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And as much as the rain perhaps tried just a little bit to come in the way, I think we all managed to come here safely, and we all look splendid this evening. I tried to do what you guys did. Unfortunately, you beat me to it. My name is John Colin Namine, and I'm not doing anything special tonight. I'm just assisting the proceedings. I think the ones that are doing the most important stuff here are the panelists and, of course, the speakers that will be here on this platform. It's a privilege to welcome you to the launch of the Echo Dialogue Collective project, which we're quite happy to launch this evening, and I'm not going to talk too much about it. I don't want to steal people's jobs, but I think we're all here for one thing, right? To answer questions or to ask questions. And I can promise you two things by the end of the night. We're going to leave here either more informed or more confused. And that's only because the word energy, which should be a simple word, right, is something that we all grew up with. It was in the dictionary, but in the country, it's over the past few years become more of a very unique word. And we're going to discuss that. We are also going to look at how we empower the media, how we empower civil society at large for a transparent green future, because we all have questions. Without wasting further time, I'll just quickly give you our house rules and allow us to start our proceedings. So for the gentlemen around the corner here, if you get into this tunnel, you will find a door open. If you walk in on your left-hand side, the restroom will be there. For the ladies, you go further upon the fish pond. You also turn to your right, and then you'll find your restroom there. Like I mentioned, there are refreshments towards the back. So there's coffee, there's water. And then if you do need anything else, any other questions that you might have, you can go ask the questions there at the registration point. And perhaps to get started, we will have a bit of We'll have welcome remarks and talk a bit more about the project. And to assist us in doing that, we have our lovely directors who worked so hard to realize this project, and they're seated all here on the table. I'll introduce them from my far left there. That's Graham Hopwood. He's the Executive Director of the Institute for Public Policy Research. We also have Zoé Titus, who's the Executive Director for the Namibia Media Trust. Toni Hancox is seated right next to her. She is Executive Director for the Legal Assistance Center. And then we have Peter Deselears, who's the Program Director at the DW Akademie, Namibia and Southern Africa. Perhaps a round of applause for them for looking splendid and the hard work, please.
Thank you very much, John Colin.
There we go, Peter.
Yeah. And as this project is about dialogue and talking to each other, we thought we won't present it by talking to you, but by having a conversation. And I'll start with Graham as one of the people that in Namibia, if you need good analysis of the political landscape, the economic landscape, you can always call him. And I want to start with you, Graham, from the standpoint of IPPR. Why is this topic of energy transition, of extractive industries and green hydrogen so important in Namibia right now?
Well, I think, we all feel that we're at the start of a new era with the events of the last few days. I think there's optimism and hope, but also a sense that we've got to get things right at this point. We've got to get things right, certainly within the 5-year time period of the next government. And a crucial part of getting things right is to deal with the issues around the energy transition well, and to make sure that the benefits of that energy transition come to ordinary Namibians, to people on the ground. And that's a key part of this project, or a key aim of this project, is to make sure all those issues that are wrapped up in the energy transition for Namibia, which we're going to touch on tonight, like green hydrogen, like oil and gas, critical raw materials, renewables, solar, wind, and so on, we have to make the right kind of progress that is in the interests of the ordinary Namibian and the mass of the population. So that's why it's important, and I do think from the IPPR's experience that we have some track record to be able to help in this instance.
Yeah, because I mean, you're called the Institute for Public Policy Research, and what are the public policy topics that you think is IPPR? I mean, you've been covering most of them already, but what do you think is really important to look at the moment?
Well, I think historically for the IPPR and also for me, and I know people are bored with me mentioning these two words, but they're absolutely crucial, which is transparency and accountability. I keep going on about these because what I just mentioned about the benefits flowing through to the people cannot happen unless there is transparency and accountability in all of the projects, in the government policies and laws that we are currently looking at and discussing and wanting to reform and change, and to make sure that we consider all the communities in Namibia and not just high-level people and high-level decision makers and politicians and so on. So I think from our experience, the key will be to make sure that we can communicate with the ordinary people on the ground in the communities, but also have the kind of transparent and accountable policies and laws that make that a much easier task for all of us. And at the moment, I'm afraid to say, we don't have that. We don't have an access to information law that's in place. We don't have other key anti-corruption laws like the whistleblower protection law working. They haven't been implemented. We often say in Namibia we have wonderful policies, but we don't have great implementation. And I hope in some way that this project can contribute to changing that mindset and getting better implementation.
Okay, thank you. Toni, at LAC, you work very closely with marginalized communities, if I can say so. How do you make sure that all communities in Namibia are heard, can participate, and ultimately, as Graham says, benefit from what there is a lot of hope around oil and gas, green hydrogen, etc., changing Namibia to the better and people benefiting? How do we make sure that everyone participates in that?
Sorry, just before... Hi, sorry everybody. Just before that, thank you very much to the members of the collective sitting here. I had very little to do with anything, so thanks for doing that for me. Yes, look, at the end of the day, people have to be empowered to speak. And when we talk about informed consent, that's the key word, informed. You need to know what you're talking about before you can express yourself. And if you are living in an environment, that environment predisposes everything that happens in your life. So it's important for you to know what is going on, how do you deal with it, how do you speak out, what channels are there? So it's about education, it's about outreach, it's about going out there. And very important for me is you need to speak in a way that people can understand you. I have a conversation with friends sometimes and I'm like, what the hell is green energy all about? I don't really understand the intricacies or what could happen and what can go wrong. So, it's important for us to be able to speak on it with some knowledge and to be able to have the strength and peace of mind to go out there and speak about it.
You are a human rights organization, the only public interest human rights law firm in the country. Why does it matter to you, the environment, the communities from a human rights perspective at the LSE?
So environmental rights are human rights. I mean, it's absolutely intertwined. What happens in your environment affects your human rights on a daily basis. And I always like to think that, in your home, you want to feel safe, you want to be sheltered. And the world is our home, so people want to be sheltered and safe in it. So absolutely, dignity is the foremost always in my mind. And to live a dignified life, you have to be comfortable in your environment. You have to be able to access what it is you need for your livelihoods. So there's how it goes together.
Okay. Thank you. Zoe, you at the NMT, you stand for freedom of expression, you stand for access to information, and you also now dive into environmental topics, energy topics. Why do you think that matters to the media sector?
Peter, yes, absolutely. Access to information, press freedom, that's our mantra. We live, sleep, breathe that on a daily basis. But I'd like to frame this in a broader manner as a social justice issue. And by association, a climate justice issue. And I believe that solid, professional, public interest journalism is central to people understanding their environment, the issues that are relevant to them, so that they can, express from an informed perspective, issues about their lives, their land, and express their aspirations. So yes, we are diving into this with very, very knowledgeable partners. I just have great expectations, and I'm very excited about how we can potentially assist and shape journalism on this critical topic for our country.
And how are we going to do this as the Eco Dialogue Collective?
Oh, as the Eco Dialogue Collective, I mean, it's so exciting. There are many ways to describe it. I call it a hub sometimes, but we will be setting up, establishing what we call the Eco Newsroom, which is a collaborative space where journalists, civil society actors, the youth, and community advocates can come together, and where substantial resources will be availed to help them better understand this energy, green transition, extractive industries, oil and gas issue. But at the core of it, and I think this is a central element to the project, because everything converges on the Eco Newsroom as that portal to facilitate access to information, and subsequently, hopefully, the transparency and accountability, Graham, that you seek, and the reflection of marginalized voices that you seek.
Mm-hmm. So we have the first column of our project, the content, and then there's the second column, dialogue. How will the dialogue happen?
Well, we have for many, many years, along with our partners here, facilitated many platforms for dialogue on a range of issues, but there will be workshops, there will be conferences and community engagements where, most importantly, we are trying to extract new ideas, shape new narratives around the issues of the green transition.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously take these voices from the communities, from the experts, to the policymakers in order to get better policies that include then the perspectives and the voices of the communities that are affected. And last but not least, we have a training component. What are the topics that we will try to look into when we talk about capacity building?
There are so many issues. Data journalism, I believe that has been a challenge for newsrooms in general. We will be looking at issues like AI because it cuts across the board and how we can use artificial intelligence to facilitate journalism. We will be having, a range of training initiatives around storytelling, around mobile journalism, all the various elements that facilitate multimedia storytelling in an effective and engaging way.
Mm-hmm. And we will combine that obviously with trying to get experts there to explain to the content creators, to civil society, to journalists what these issues are about, to understand what is green hydrogen, because it's a question that you hear a lot lately in Namibia, but also what are the implications, of the drilling for oil on the ocean ecosystem. Yeah? And we'll try to get experts in so that journalists, policymakers, civil society really have access to the information, and then hopefully can shape a policy that makes sure that every Namibian can benefit from whatever is coming our way in terms of oil, gas, energy, green hydrogen, etc.
May I add that,
Sure.
as a collective, we are really invested in collaboration. I think that's at the foundation of everything that we do. And we also acknowledge that all the knowledge and the expertise is not here. We will be calling on the experts to facilitate a lot of training. I think a lot of journalists, especially younger journalists, would benefit dramatically from mentorship opportunities and the fellowships and grants that will become available through the Echo newsroom.
Thank you very much.
Well, a round of applause for the directors. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You may take your